Tell me about your weaknesses. Now, this is a question you will often face in an interview at some stage in life. So how should you answer this question? It's a very tricky question to answer. And in this video, I'm just going to talk about that. But before we start, do subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon so that the next time I make a video, you come to know about it. Now, I'll talk from my recruiting experience, and when somebody asks you, tell me something about your weakness, the interviewer also knows it's a trick question. They're actually seeing two qualities. One, are you honest about what your weaknesses are? And two, how you actually think on your feet. But before we start getting into it, you have to understand what are some bad answers. These are answers you should not give when you're asked, tell me something about your weakness. And I'll talk from my recruiting experience for over 10 years. A bad answer is essentially when you're trying to take a strength and you're essentially positioning that as a weakness. You have to understand your interviewer has done this for many, many years, he or she, and they can see through it when you're trying to take a strength and position it as a weakness. For example, I am a perfectionist and I expect everyone around me to be a perfectionist. Now, this is not really a weakness because perfectionism is considered a strength. I tend to get panicky and I don't like doing things in the last minute. So I try to plan in a way so that I can do things at the beginning. Good planning, again, is not a weakness. I try to go to the lowest level of detail in my work even when it is not required. Attention to detail is not a weakness. I am extremely passionate about my job and I end up doing much more than what I am asked for. This is clearly not a weakness. So never do this tactic of trying to take a strength and try to position it as a weakness. So how do you answer this question actually when someone asks you, tell me something about your weakness? One, I think you have to be honest about yourself in terms of what your weaknesses are. And secondly, what are you doing to overcome that weakness? So for instance, some of the very good answers I've heard over my recruiting career. Someone said that I hate conflicts and I hate verbal conflicts. They make me very uncomfortable. But because of my job, I have to constantly negotiate with vendors and I often have to get into these verbal confrontations and I find them very uncomfortable. So what I used to do is now my arguments, I write them in an email and send them in advance, or I make a slide on it and I let the slide do the talking rather than me having an uncomfortable conversation. It's actually a very good answer. Another answer could be that I tend to get very anxious in life over things which I can control, over things which I cannot control. And I used to get very fidgety about it. So I do a bit of yoga, I do a bit of meditation to control my mind so that I don't worry about things which I cannot control. Or what I've also done is I've tried to build a routine in my life so that because I have the routine, my mind is always occupied and it doesn't have time to overthink on issues which it should not be thinking. So these are some answers you can give. But I also gave a caveat that you shouldn't be too honest. Never be too honest to destroy your own case. Tell me something about your weakness. For instance, you should never say things like, in my career, I've never got along with my boss. That's been one of my weaknesses. Or I like to work alone. I do not like to work in a team environment. I am someone who's comfortable as an individual contributor just delivering on his own. These are very, very bad answers to give. Or tell me something about your weakness. I always have issues presenting to clients and clients have never appreciated my communication or my quality of narrative. These are very, very bad answers to give because they're essentially killing your case. So what else can you think of? Drop your suggestions, drop your comments, drop your questions in the box below. I will try and answer as many as I can. But before we conclude, do subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon. Until next time, take care.